What is going on, fam? Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, I got a special treat for you. If you are in the information technology industry, meaning you're a technical professional or an administrator, and you are doing work that involves you on the computer doing some type of programming or doing some type of software updates and anything where it involves where you're literally behind a desk trying to innovate technology, then you're going to want to tune in, because I am going to help you on the career consulting wise of somebody who has pretty much gone through dog shit to be able to succeed to where he currently is now. 7 months ago, he decided to start up a company known as Hero Consulting under the objective, the structure that he wants to be the company that revolutionizes recruitment agencies, meaning that he's not there, him and his company and his employees are not there to lie to you. They're not there to tell you what you want to hear. They're there to help you get to where you want to be and seeing you succeed. And being able to hear someone that has a passion for recruiting, who's gotten really, really, really good at it, and essentially go from one person to 6 people, you're going to learn a lot, not so much about just entrepreneurship itself, but what was the turning point where 8 months ago actually, where was he hitting a point where he decided to do more with his career? And if I can just give you a little bit of spoiler, it wasn't enough for someone else to pay him a really good salary. It was so much of being able to give back and change and revolutionize how recruiting agencies are viewed at. So thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to follow Vasily Korochenko. I believe that's how I pronounce it. Vas, if you're watching, I apologize if I pronounce it wrong. His Instagram and LinkedIn will be down below in the link in the description. So tune in, guys. You're going to enjoy. All right, Voss. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, your company, and a little bit about what you do.
Okay, my name is Vasily Korochenko. I'm 30 years old, and I am the owner of Hero Consulting. It's a IT recruitment agency. We have clients who are looking for IT specialists, and we have a lot of engineers who are IT specialists, and we sort of bring those two together. For that, I'm being paid by the client. So when I find someone and I place them at the clients, and my clients, they pay me a fee. That's how I operate my business. Started the business roughly 5 months ago with nothing, and we've done really well in 5 months. It's grown down to 6 people. Okay. So it's really, really fast. Like we are expanding really quickly because we're gaining a lot of new clients and we are making a lot of business. A little bit faster than I actually would really like to.
Yeah.
Because when it all sort of flowing at the same time, you kind of grow really quickly, and I want to make sure that it's controlled. And that's sort of what I do. That's where I come from.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in which case, my name is Cristian Gray. I actually am a blogger, author, and entrepreneur in the sense of career consulting. One of the takeaways was that you did recruitment. I myself did recruitment as well. I did recruitment for about 4 months in corporate America, and this was for a home health care agency. So it was my job to get nurses to take care of terminally ill kids, meaning they needed either a G button, essentially they couldn't eat, or they needed a track, they couldn't breathe, or they needed a vent, meaning that they couldn't, their lungs didn't function. Well, when you work 100 hours a week and you do that constantly and you don't have time for yourself, it really puts a lot of pressure and stress. It's a young man's job, I will tell you that. And so what I did was once I left, I ended up working for psychologists, which I currently still do now, and learned a lot about mental health, couples therapy, family therapy, domestic violence, depression, anxiety. And now I ended up creating a book to help people understand that you should, quote unquote, not live to work, but work to live. And now that's what I do more on the career consulting side, resumes, interview preparations, and then helping people find their path. Because I think when you have a path, even though you don't have all the steps aligned, you at least know where you want to be.
100%. So, as you said, like I now obviously have a recruitment agency, but before that I was working myself in a recruitment agency. I was working there a lot longer than 4 months. I was working there for 6 years. It's my first job out of university. I was working there. I was working 3 years in London and 3 years in Berlin. I was very successful at it. I did 3 years in London. Was very successful there. And then they asked me to go to Berlin and rebuild everything I've done in London again in Berlin. I was promoted in 6 years, 6 times, all the way up to business unit manager, and I was responsible for up to 18 people and running quite a big business unit, which I kind of really built completely from scratch. So there was nothing there before. There were no clients, there were no clients, nothing. Everything I've built up to that stage was by myself. And in December, I quit. It was 6, no, that was not. What is it now? Now it's November, 11 months ago.
11 months ago.
Roughly. So about 11 months ago, I quit and I wanted to start my own company. And I understand that, like working, that's what you said with the 100 hours, that is a little bit normal, especially in recruitment.
Yeah.
Because the job itself, at least as it stands right now, or it has been in the past, is very much you get what you put into it, right? The more you are putting into recruitment, the more money you actually make, because it's a commission-based sales, right? And companies, at least my company, and I assume yours, were also at some kind encouraging you to make work more.
Yes.
Right? It's like there was, at some stages, they're like, well, you're not really regarded hard-working if you don't work double what you actually have to.
Yeah.
Right? And I assume that can take a lot of mental stress on it. And I've seen a lot of people burn out. And I myself, I'm not 100% sure if I burned out, but it was more of a fact that I kind of want to say I woke up. I woke up because I realized that what I was doing wasn't good. Because in recruitment itself it's not a high regarded job. Like when you're called as a recruiter, nobody goes like, "Oh, great!
Yeah,
there's a recruiter calling for me right now." And I could see that we had to force a lot of clients to work with us. We had to force a lot of candidates to work with us. It was all very like you had to force everybody to do something which you didn't want to do, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't feel comfortable with that anymore because I saw no end to it. Like it didn't matter. Like within 6 years, I made them millions over millions. And I still saw no end to it. And that did not make me happy anymore. It didn't make me happy that what you're saying right now is, for me, it was very important that I had the freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Yes.
Which I always had, but then I kind of had to work within the politics of the company, which I never was very good at. I couldn't go at my own speed anymore as fast as I wanted to go because I wanted to grow even bigger. They wouldn't let me because there's certain restriction on certain markets. Like if I wanted to do healthcare and stuff, they would never let me.
Yeah.
Because it's an IT company, so I couldn't even grow fast that I wanted. So I can see how it was mentally, but for me it was mentally very important that I was happy, and I just wasn't anymore, and it didn't matter how much money I made.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that I learned because before I got into that position, I was working as a marketing coordinator for about eight months. Right out of university, I was going to graduate school. I was getting my degree in HR, and that was one of the classes that I really enjoyed was workforce staffing, training and development. And transitioning into there, life takes its turns, and I really felt that my dad passed away in December 2017. I had to now be the one when you have a chip on your shoulder. It's like, well, where's the money coming in? So I'm like, you know what? Let me see where I can go. I essentially submitted about 200 applications. I got 4 job interviews and then 2 offers.
200 applications, you got 4 job offers.
4 job offers.
Why do you think that is?
I would say it was I wasn't ready yet. I was working as a marketing coordinator and an administrative assistant. And I would say that I didn't tailor my skills. Essentially, I didn't know what I could do. And you don't know what you do until you try stuff. But I really liked the marketing aspect, and then I really liked the HR aspect. So it was either a staffing coordinator position or a benefits coordinator, and I didn't want to deal with insurance all day. And so I decided to go the staffing coordinator route. And when I went through there, it wasn't what I was expected. And essentially, one of the things that they did, they put a CPS case on me, meaning that I had to oversee CPS and care. And I went from marketing into healthcare. And then there's just so much regulation. There wasn't much coaching. And essentially, I created a training development packet. And when I gave it to the COO, I asked him for help. Like, hey, I don't like what I do. Could I just do the administration side? And he turned it down because he said, it's all about opportunity. I don't have it right now. And I'm like, man, I just really don't like what I'm doing. And I'm still in the probationary period. So essentially, it was short-lived. And I just kind of called it quits after 4 months. And fortunately, I was able to help a nonprofit startup company run their office, doing the same thing, essentially, minus the fact that I don't have to deal with recruitment. I just have to deal with the operations management, which is what I really wanted to do.
Okay, so you're not a fan of recruitment itself.
I am a fan of it, of recruitment. I am a fan of the process. It was just more, I didn't have the backbone of, I didn't feel like I was coached enough to know exactly how the process worked. So I was just kind of taking cold calling from what I did in marketing and kind of transferred that skill to recruiting, but I didn't know what the end result was. So it was like a numbers game, but it was like they didn't teach me the process, and I just really didn't know what I was doing. So it's kind of like stick to the wall.
Okay, I understand. It's difficult to become a good recruiter if you don't have someone to show you how to do it. Okay, that's 100%. Like, I have shown it now to like 12 people in London, 18 in Berlin, and my 6 guys now. I don't know, it's like 36 people. I've taught how to do it, and every single one of them, not every single one of them, but most of them have done it rather successfully, because like what you said right now, you need to find someone who's good at it, like who's really good at it. Like, not just, hey, I've been working 20 years in one area and just, happen to be in this area, and just, like, you need to be seeing it and it's like, look, that's exactly what I want to do. And I've learned it from someone who's great.
Yeah.
Like, my very first boss was phenomenal. Like, he was the very best recruitment agent I've ever seen in my life. Okay? He taught me all the basics of it. He left at some point, so I had to sort of do it myself. But I realized that sales or recruitment itself doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't. And when you learn how to help someone else find a job, I think it gives you the skills for you to find your own as well at some point. Because I've helped now. I think we are counting at roughly at 278 people now, where we have helped over the 6 years. Within 5 months. Over the 6 years, I've helped roughly over 278 people now find jobs, and I can quite safely say that when you send 200 applications and you get 4 interviews, it's very much down to the CV, right? It's very much down to the CV.
Yeah.
And the job teaches you how a good CV should look like, because you find a client, and then you have a candidate, and then you need to look at his CV and then go like, well, if I present that to the client now, would he get an interview?
Yeah.
Right? So, and 99% of all the people I've helped, I've seen their CV is not even remotely good enough for that. So I've created a template. Which I'm happy to send to you. You can send it to anyone you want. Which I sent to my candidates for them to fill out.
Yeah.
Because that makes it a lot easier to show to the people you send it to, whether or not HR or managers. And the success rate of that is very, very high, because the CV itself, the only goal of the CV is for you to get an interview.
Yes.
And most people take the CV as in, I have to get the job through the CV, so I have to show who I am, whatever I do.
Yeah.
And it's not like that. The CV is only there to show 90% of the time, it's the HR lady who sees it.
Yeah.
Right? So she needs to win, like, they get so many of those. They usually decide within 5 seconds whether they're going to interview or not.
Yes.
Because she has to send it out to the manager. So, like, you have to create a CV which has an impact within 5 seconds that you know exactly what you do, right? And then everybody should usually get the interview, right? So that's one big part of it. But for what was interesting to me, would you never want to go back into recruitment? Is it like that, or?
So one of the fortunate opportunities that I had was, essentially I took the skills that I had from that recruitment job. And when I went into this nonprofit startup company, was just considered them, they had no backbone. So they were running through a virtual assistant. They had a virtual assistant and a virtual biller, to send out their claims, which, in healthcare, it's, you go to therapy, your insurance runs the process. I myself, if I'm the therapist, I have to send out a virtual claim to get paid. And they had no structure. They're just like, we're growing at a much rapid pace. We need help operating the office. And I said, okay, I've definitely worked in administration. I've done clerical stuff. And the one takeaway that I really liked was training and development. Because not only am I literally creating the infrastructure of the business on how it should operate, creating the systems with people, right? When we were hiring new personnel, I think if we were 1, 2, 3, we're at 6 now. I was part of their training and development program, coaching them, telling them this is what you need to know about insurance. This is what you need to know about people. This is what you need to know about that. So I've taken some of the stuff that I did in recruitment, but going into recruitment, I'm not sure yet, just because I have that bit of reluctancy to go back into the industry. But the benefit is I do have the skill to train and develop and coach people so they don't end up in the same position I did when I was in recruitment. So I did learn that skill.
So you coach people to become recruiters?
I coach people to become successful at their job for the current business that I am. So essentially I do the operations management for the business that I work for.
Okay, I see. That's interesting. So what's your tip for someone to become successful at their job?
Well, going into there, you only learn what you don't know. And I, again, was, when I dropped grad school, what I could tell people is people hate being managed. And I used to be the biggest micromanager, just because it's like, I didn't realize that if you have an insecurity that you're incompetent, that you don't know the job, you try to pin that off to somebody else. Or you'll try to put in the power card of, oh, I'm your manager, that kind of stuff. It took me several months, especially when I'm trying to manage people that are 20 years ahead of the game. I had to take my ego out. The minute I took my ego out, and I decided to become humble, and I decided to listen, I would say that if somebody wants to be successful in management, operations management, any kind of management or leadership position, let other people say what they need to hear and listen, and then respond competently. Because I remember being very egotistical and not listening, like almost as if, well, I went to university and you didn't, you should listen to me. Like, no, don't do that. Like, you don't want to do that, because it belittles people and it makes them feel like they're not worth anything. So that's really one of the things that I learned now that I've been able to coach about 3 people now at this time.
So this was successful. Okay. So, and the way I sort of a little bit understand your audience, I'm going to try to bring some value into how I would go about if I'm going to give someone, like, want them to become successful at their job.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to look at the person you're working with. Like, whoever is above you and shows you the job, whatever, are they actually any good at it? Mm-hmm. Like, do you really respect the person? Because I think also, like, especially within coaching and lifestyle coaching and all of that, there's like so much going on right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of crap, right? I've seen a lot of crap where, you get some e-tutorials for like 1,000 euros or dollars mm-hmm. about just mentality and stuff, which I think the person who's teaching you, is he teaching you something practical? Yeah. That's the first question you have to ask yourself. Is it something you can actually apply? or is it some just blah blah stuff about being positive, have good mindset, be motivated? Like that's nothing. That is that means nothing. Like the person who's teaching how to do it, or whoever is above you, does he teach you something practical?
Yeah.
If it's not practical, if he's not sure, or he, she, it is showing you something practical which you can like apply, for example, in recruitment would be, is he showing you how you can acquire a new client?
Yes.
Is he showing you how you acquire new candidates? Is he showing you how you negotiate contracts? Is he showing you how you, turn around bad situations, whatever? Like, is he practically showing you something? Like in marketing, again, the same thing. Is he showing you how to create content? Is he showing you how to create strategies? Or he, she, it. Again, I keep saying he. I know there's no she.
Yeah, he's a she.
In the same way in finance, are they showing you how to, be good, like keep good books, make good tax? Like, is there something practical day to day? That's the first thing, because I think a lot of people don't get very good at their job because it's all a lot of theory and not a lot of practical stuff. On top of that, most people, at least for me, if you want to be really good at your job, you do have to put in some research, extra hours about what you do. Whether or not it's programming, whether or not it's finance, recruitment, IT, business, whatever it is, in some you are doing something which is business related. You must understand the industry you are in.
Yes.
If it's IT, read about it. Like, understand that there are different projects, there's different languages coming out, there's different IT companies, what's happening in the world. For example, for me, it was very, very useful because I was an automotive engineering recruiter. Mm-hmm. So like recruiters who were, I was recruiting engineers who were working on microchips for cars.
Yes.
Like the braking systems, the steering systems, all of that. And it was very valuable to me to find out about the industry, because the more I knew, the more I could talk about it. Like, what kind of companies make braking systems? What kind of companies are changing to electric cars? You understand? Like that kind of stuff. That's practical.
Yeah.
That's practical things you can do afterwards. Another thing is, if you don't really love what you are doing, okay, it's okay. A lot of people don't love what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're just gonna have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But make sure you take time to work on something practical, against some sort of craft which you do love. Whether or not it is something for content related, something like, for example, where do you live right now?
I live in Texas, Fort Worth.
In Texas. So were you a Cowboys or a Texans fan?
I actually, if I have to say what kind of football fan, it would, I just don't watch football like that. Like, believe it or not, I played college football. I watch UFC. I'm a really big fan of UFC. So I'm more of a fighter. Like, I'll watch fighting before I watch football.
Okay, so let's say, give me like a UFC, like, for example, let's say you do something which you don't love, right? But you love UFC.
Yeah.
You can do something at home about UFC.
Yes.
Like, you can write blog posts.
Yeah.
You can do a podcast. You can do interviews. You can write summaries. You can talk about summaries. There's a lot of things you can do about what you love, which might convert into money at some point. I'm not a fan of saying throw everything away and just do that, because again, it's not practical.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to pay the bill, but 90% of the time you only do that for 8 hours.
Yes.
Right. So these are my three things I'd say. Number one, make sure that the person above you teaches you something practical, so you can actually become better at what you physically do every day.
Yes.
That, I think, will make you a better specialist or make you better at your job. Second thing would be, make sure you invest some time into researching the industry you're in, whether or not it's cars, IT, finance, banking, whatever, right? Teaching, coaching, like you're coaching a certain amount of people, right?
Yeah.
HR people, marketing, so whatever, like make sure you understand the industry you're in, where's the money spent. That will make you a better professional. Would also, like, if you do something right now which you do not love, I very much suggest that you go home. When you go home, do something you do around that subject. If you like to program, for example, but you're not a programmer, do some programming at home. If you like to play video games, I do. That's my thing, right? It's my thing. Like, make sure you can run an Instagram post just about news.
Yeah.
You can run a podcast about a certain genre. You can do a live stream about video game. There's a lot of things which will make you happy and which can actually relate into into some money for you. So I think that will make you a better professional as well.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I've learned more importantly, and we're gonna take you for example. So you said that you were making, when you're, I think you said you were in London first, and then you went to Berlin, correct?
Yeah.
When you were in Berlin, that you had this big business unit that essentially you're the one who built that from scratch, right?
Yeah.
So, and essentially you acquired all the fundamental knowledge, skills, and abilities where you're like, you know what, if I'm building this big business unit from scratch, well, if I'm not liking it, why don't I take what I learned and create this for a company that I would really like, which is what you do now, correct?
Yes. Yes, you're correct. But I didn't see it at that stage like that, right?
Okay.
I didn't realize that I was learning that. I was just like I didn't realize that I was learning. I was just more like, oh, you have to do all of this now, and I started to do it. At some point, I started to realize, actually, I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, you started sort of to realize, well, I'm actually doing everything, but I didn't actually have a problem on doing it. Like I did it for a while. I understood it for a good 6 months, where I could be like, you know what, I'm okay still, because the company was giving me what I wanted. I wanted the money, and I got paid a shit ton of money. I wanted the freedom. I had my freedom. But at some point, it was starting not to be enough. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, I woke up in the morning and I just wasn't happy, right? And I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. And it was crazy because I was making a ton of money. And I thought it was all about money, which it isn't.
Yeah.
And I only figured it out for myself afterward. Where I'm like, well, when you get to that stage where you have all of it, like I felt like I had a lot of it. I had like a big business unit. We had 2 offices. We were constantly hiring. I was making a lot of money. Like I wasn't working that much anymore because I learned people for me. And I was still employed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I'm still not happy. And I didn't want to be greedy. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be greedy, but I only then understood that my happiness will not be in that money. My happiness will be in, first of all, being in a position where I'm more free, even more free. Like it doesn't matter how free I was, I still needed to be even freer.
Yeah.
Like I'm a true-blooded entrepreneur. I didn't know it until then, but I am one, and I cannot have anybody above me. In any stage, because I need to. If I want to do something, I want to do it, and I don't want to ask for permission.
Yeah.
Or if I think it's right or it's wrong, I just have to do it the way I think is right, and I don't want to be talking to anybody about it. And like this was always going to be a problem until I realized it for myself. And the other thing is, I wanted to be proud of what we were doing, like because I'm putting my name to it, and I wanted to be proud. And there were so many different other people who were doing bad work.
Yeah.
Which didn't matter what I do. Like if I do, like other people looking at us now and looking that we are not great, but I'm doing really good work, and because all of you are terrible, this is why I'm also now considered to be terrible. And this is not what I want to do. I set myself, and after that, after I quit, I did one big thing. I set myself a goal, which was not financial, but something which I think would really make me happy. I absolutely deadly love playing video games.
Yeah. Like
video games is the only thing in this world which can make me actually focus on one thing and turn my mind off. Like there's nothing else which will relax me. I have all the ADDs you have in your life. I work constantly, every single hour, every single day. But the one time I'm actually relaxing is when I put my headphones on and put my PlayStation controller in my hand and just play. And I wanted to do something with that, so I'm like, well, I want to build my own video game company. And I set myself that as a goal. And now I'm going towards that. I don't know if it's the right way. I don't know if it's correct. I don't know if I'll get there or not, but I know I'm doing something towards that. I think that purpose of getting something to wake up for is important.
That is so awesome to hear. And it's very awesome because you were like, I didn't want to be greedy because then I'm asking for too much, but I wanted freedom. I'm a true-blooded entrepreneur. And I figured, I'm like, all right, so now if you look back, the takeaway was, well, I know how to do IT recruitment, but I want to help that channel to something that I really love, which is video games. And I do want to give you a little bit of insight. So my current boss, my mentor, really smart man, he actually created a book about video games, and it's called The Psychology of Zelda. And I'm going to show you a picture of it. This is his book. So he's known as the video game doc, meaning he knows everything. His name is Dr. Anthony M. Bean.
M. Bean, yeah?
Yeah, bean as in lima bean, jelly bean, green bean. And I swear, man, this guy has done wonders. So his book is called The Psychology of Zelda. I'll send you the link to that. And he has another book, and he wants to do like, it's called Archetypal Psychology, and essentially it's like how when you play video games, you adopt the character, the hero, and then like all the bad stuff that's happening in the world is the villain, and you have to take on this role of, well, you, Voss, you run this company. You're the hero for IT recruitment. You're the hero to get people those jobs. Yeah, and so exactly right. Like out of all things, like call it
The logo.
exactly the logo, right? The hero consulting. And so you are your own hero. So I'll send you the link to that because you'll really enjoy his take. So that's really cool. And then he's actually working on Final Fantasy and about role playing games, stuff like really cool guy. So essentially, you said it yourself where you wanted more freedom, and freedom would be to funnel that thing. What I learned was that, some people, they just need to pay the bills and they don't know what they want yet. That's fine. But you do need to have like an end game of like, where do you really want to take yourself? Don't sell yourself short. And what I learned was I personally enjoy helping people find purpose in their career. And also, because it does take a toll if you don't have that purpose, which is something that I discuss in my book. Like you just need a purpose. You need to become woke. You need to become how the psychological word cognizant, aware, willing to be aware. And once you do that, my end game would be to help people get to where they want to be in their career. And it could be anything. I've seen people who make 50 grand a year, super happy. My personal thing is that I actually wanted to help people, I guess you could say specifically, not feel like they capped out on their career. Because I've seen people like in the bank, I'm going to say my personal business banker, he like is completely miserable at the fact that he's like, I don't know what to do. I have all these certifications, I have all these licenses, I have this degree, I have a pension, I have 401k. I'm like, well, what about you next? Like, what do you want to do? He's like, really? I would like to go fishing. I'm like, so then go fishing. Like, like you said, make a blog post about fishing. Talk about different types of fishes that you can look for. Create something, right? Create a fishing Facebook group and become that person. Do something, but you don't have to do this specifically because, one of the things that I learned was mental health. So, my boss here, he's a psychologist. So he does, therapy. He does this research on the side. As much as I do as anybody, is that when you first start out anything, whether it's like entrepreneurship or any kind of venture to fund that, depression and anxiety are the fundamentals of the things that we'll experience. Because then it's like, we're like, I don't want to get greedy. And then you're like anxious because it's like, I want more. But then it's like you're depressed because you don't get enough. You're like, what am I supposed to do? But when you have...
I'll tell you one thing now. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But that might be interesting for you. I don't know if I'm the only person like that, but I feel that fear and the anxiety is exactly what fuels me.
Yeah.
It's really like crazy. It shouldn't, because it feels like a little sociopathic. But
yeah, no.
Like if I feel comfortable, I think something is wrong.
Yeah.
Like if I feel comfortable, something is not going right. So I start to change. Like for example, I'll give you a good example. We started the business, and I knew how to do recruitment, and I knew how to do it well. So we started the first couple of months, and we did immediately well. And I sort of realized, why is everything so good? It cannot be good. Like it should not be that calm.
Yeah.
Like it should be not. Like I feel like I need that fear and that anxiety in me. So I started to change in the business a little bit. So I started to So the first thing I did was I said, okay, I'm gonna change completely the way we work. You guys are still gonna be on the phones. I'm not gonna do nothing on the phones anymore. I'm gonna try and acquire business over LinkedIn, for example, which is completely different from anything we've done. And then I started it, and it wasn't working. And now I had that fear and anxiety in me again. Oh, maybe it's not working. And I started to improve on that, and that became better. So like, do you as a psychologist, and your boss as a psychologist, is that something normal that people who become good in business and sort of perform, they sort of, I don't know, they take that fear and that anxiety and like live with it and roll with it?
So I'm gonna take you exactly the biggest thing that I learned, and essentially what he said was, anxiety is nothing more than anticipation of future pain, and I don't think anybody likes pain, but for us, for who are entrepreneurs, because I myself had to start my own venture on the side, right? Because I let him know, like, hey, this is what I want to do, and he has several ventures of his own, so he understands it. When you feel like you're not getting to where you want to be, it creates that anxiety, which is good because you have to act on it. If not, you're just going to be constantly filled with anxiety. If you don't act on it, well, that's to both of us and as much as him is, well, then we're doing something wrong, meaning we have to work to fix it and have that fearless, because the difference between us and everybody else is just drive. Everybody says, what's the secret? There's no secret. You're going to fail 200 times before you get that first success. Anybody knows that. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. Are you learning from it? Are you being aware of the mistakes that you're making? And one of the mistakes that I was making was I wasn't giving enough. So one of the things that I did before I even did resume writing, interview preparation, was I struggled really hard to set myself in stone. So like somebody would be several years ago, actually, when I was 2 years ago when I was in recruiting, essentially what happened was, it's like, oh, you need a resume, $50. You don't have $50, $25. Like, I was selling myself short. Now that I know my worth, now it's not so much anxiety of money that I invest. Now it's anxiety of, I need to give more. I need to give more back to more massive amounts of people. Let people know, like, just like the curriculum vitae. People, like, there are some recruiters, out there, resume writers, that they don't even want to give their template. Like, give them the template. Give your best stuff away for free. And they'll come back because they'll feel obligated if that works. And so the anxiety and fear is more, once you understand it, you face it, you act on that, and then now you can confront that, because fear doesn't go away. But if you can keep that fear level at a minimum and maintain it, well, now you're acting with total clarity.
Yeah, I think when you're saying that, exactly, I don't judge ever anybody. So if people are taking money for the resume writing, whatever it is, like Mazel Tov. I don't think it's something people should pay for because it's not difficult. I give all my template, everything away for free because I have another way of making money. So when someone else doesn't have another way of making money, it's what it is, right? You're gonna have to live off something. So I don't judge that. But what you are saying is correct, that I think one of the biggest things I have learned was I wish I was kinder back then. All right, like genuinely, and I'll tell you a good example of that. Like, you never know when you're gonna need someone at some point, or you never know when you're gonna meet someone again. And I'll give you I'll give you a very good example. So I was a little bit of a prick in school. But it's just what it is, you're kids.
Everybody has that point.
Everybody was a bit of a dickhead, but I wish I wasn't, because there was a need for that. I had to be kind. And I had a neighbor. I was a girl, and we weren't great friends, but mainly because she was really nice, but I was just, I don't know, I was a little bit of a prick. And now, if I look back, if we go now, I don't know, 15 years ahead, now I have an IT recruitment agency. And she is one of the head HR girls at the Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bahn, right? Deutsche Bahn in Germany is the number one train company, a monopoly of train company in Germany, which hires about 1,000 IT people a year. If I was nicer to her back then, I could go now and say, hey, how about we collaborate? And I would probably get one of the biggest clients anybody could ever have in Germany. But because I wasn't, I would never get that again. I don't have that shot with her. I've tried it. It's not working. I've tried it. It's not working. I'm like, oh my God, why was... I didn't have to do anything, just but be kind. And the same thing I see with, especially a lot of companies who are letting their staff... when someone leaves... And you become, really... as a manager, you sort of a little angry at them that, you take it personal. They're leaving you. You've given it all to them. And you sort of don't... You don't go away in good relationships. So there's so many people who now I know who work at potential clients or competitors,
Yeah.
or loads of other people would be useful, which we still cannot use because we weren't kind. The same way, when I quit, I've built a business for 6 years, and I quit, and I could not take a single client with me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't take a single client with me because why? Because most people hated me. Most of the people hated me because I like, it felt like I constantly was stealing their money away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I constantly was forcing them to spend more and more and more and more, and like, I couldn't take anybody with me. I'm like, well, why did I was just not kinder to everybody? So my big thing for every single person is just be kind. There is no reason for you to be a dickhead, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to be an asshole. Just be kind, because you never know. That person at some point might be a client, a customer, a co-worker, a business partner. Something might be valuable to you. I don't know. You might know a girl,
Yeah.
which you're gonna like. Right? There's a lot of things which can happen. It can set you up, but so just be kind to everybody.
And one of the things, just, you know, that's kind of one of the things that I learned, especially from my boss was, especially when you read the chapter, if you get the opportunity to, is as we kind of wrap things up, I noticed that like anything you do in any business, it's servant leadership, it's customer service, and you have to be kind. And you do have to set boundaries. That's one of the things, like he'll tell you anything, like you have to set boundaries. You have to ensure that, I call it assertive courtesy. You know, you can't be a pushover because then people are just going to walk all over you. And you can't, like you say, be a dick because then nobody going to work with you. But if you respect your value and the person of somebody else's and have that boundary of, well, you don't have to agree with me, but as long as you respect my core values, then we'll be fine. And then some people won't. They'll just walk away, which is perfectly fine. You can't please everybody. But one of the things is, you know, one of the things that I took was, let's say resume writing, of course, just because you kind of relate to that. I give my templates for free as well. And the funny thing is, you have a CV, which is much more complex than just a resume. You know, that's why we create content. That's why we create blog posts, because I have no problem giving my best stuff away for free, because the bigger picture is really creating a community of people who want to better their career. And give me 1 second. I was on the verge of sneezing. And so one of the things that I did, just because I didn't want to charge people, you know, to write resumes, I felt like it could be affordable. I got on Udemy. And I gave like 85% of what I know about resume writing, like for a $10 course.
Why didn't you give it for free, 100%?
And that's kind of one of the things where I kind of got that, and I'm like, you know what? If Udemy now has the option, because they went through changes as I was creating it, where they could create it for free. That's kind of one of the things that's fueled more of getting the exposure, because now it's like, oh wait, I don't even have to, because now they have everything. So once Udemy finishes uploading, now it goes for free. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm giving my best stuff for free, but now I'm getting the traffic and conversion that I want.
What's your best tip? Let's give each other, like, you give yours, I'll give mine. What's your best tip for resume writing? If you want to write your resume.
For resume writing, you have to know what you want. That is the best tip, because I could speak to people, they're like, I just want a good job. No. Like, do you know what industry you want to go to? Do you know, like, what skills you have for that job? And I don't know, I just want a good job. That's generally the problem, is that people don't know what they're good at. And the best tip is essentially listing everything that you've done. I don't care if you've wiped floors. Hell, a couple of years ago, I was working in a factory. But the best tip was, what have you done? Why have you done it? How did you do it? And then what did you improve over time? Or would you do something different because of mistakes that you learned? If you can do that for everything that you've done and see what you're good at and what you're not. I've seen people who, you know, a teacher actually, she ended up not knowing that she had management skills, the fact that she had to see a committee, until her and I discussed it for about 2-hour conversation. So, like, she was like, oh, wait, I do have leadership skills. I'm like, exactly. So you can lead these teachers for the next job that you want. She's like, I didn't know that. So you have to really know what you want and what you're good at.
Okay. I'll try a quick fire. I'll make, I can't give one. I'm gonna have to give more than one. Because it sort of makes sense altogether. I'll be really quick about it. So my tip first one is you can look it up. Statistically, an HR girl reads a resume within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Within 5 seconds, they make a decision whether they're going to interview or not. So most people, it's way too long. Okay, whatever it is, if you want to make 1 page, it doesn't really matter. But if you look at it, you understand what you can do for the company within 5 seconds, and that's the big one. Write into the resume, straight up, the skills which you can do, and prove them by work which you have done in the past. I'll give an example. If you are a lot of people go into programming, right? So you say, I have programmed in this language. This is the project I've done. That's the skill. That's the proof for that. If you go into finance, for example, or like some business development, there's like, those weird job descriptions are flowing around now, like business development, sales, nothing. You say, okay, I have made this amount of sales or finance or whatever in this company through this and this and this.
Yeah.
So you have a skill which you have then proven by work. I'll give another one. For example, what's like the most common job description you get?
Most
People are looking for.
most common job description would probably be like relationship manager, like for like a financial advising company. One of the things like the skill is you need a license. Okay, you have a license, but how much money have you brought in selling whatever packages that you've sold?
There you go. So that's what you do. Obviously, you have the license. You check that box that you have the license, that you have to do it, and then you say, okay, as a relationship manager, what's my job? Bring in clients, right?
Yeah.
These are the clients which I've brought in. There's 5 of them. I've made this and this amount of money with it at that company. So that is proof that you can do it, because the company looks at your resume and they're gonna pay you a salary. Let's say 50K. Whatever.
Yeah.
They want to pay you a salary. They look at the job and they look at the CV like, am I getting 50K worth of work from him?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth, like, am I actually getting, like, it doesn't matter that you have maybe management skills, it doesn't maybe matter that you've got laser skills, but you've done something completely different, like in the past. They don't really care about it. They're looking at it at this moment and saying, like, if I get you right now, for whatever you've done in the past, I don't really give a fuck. Like, for what I get you right now, am I willing to pay you 50K? Like, will I get 50K worth of skills from you?
And this is the biggest thing, just getting everything as a whole. What people fail to understand, because like you said, like we said in the beginning, a lot of people just look at it as an 8 to 5 paycheck. And I'm like, okay, you can view it as that. But from the employer, you have to view that his 50K salary is an investment to his business. You don't have to believe.
It costs him probably more than 50K because he's going to pay tax to the country as well.
And so, like, as I tell everybody, you still have to understand that, and it's really dependent on the person itself. What they pay you, understand that that's the investment that they're investing into you. Of course, it's to get you by, but they're investing money into you. So I've always said, learn what you need to know. Some people are complacent with that. They're content with that. Hey, you're happy. Yeah. You just go to work, go home, good. But don't complain later on when you want, again, the freedom that you're wanting for, because that's what you want. So if we're to put everything in a whole, as you say, like, you have to show proof, which is really important, because it's like sales, it's like dating. You have to show some social proof, some quantitative proof. I would say that one of the biggest things that I've done is the business that I work for now, that just once I realized what my skill set was, they were making about $540,000 a year. Now we're hitting a 2 million mark. Now we're outgrowing the office space that we're at. Now we have to look into buying a building. That is the stuff that I needed, that I wouldn't have had if I didn't take the risk of, leaving recruitment and just knowing that recruiting job. Now I understand operations management, which is something that I've currently felt or I'm confident that I'm much more competent about, as opposed to before, because it's not just one job. I have to know everybody's job. And the biggest takeaway is, the minute that you take away your ego aside, and you said be kind, just let people say their piece and acknowledge that being compassionate is really the whole point of entrepreneurship, is being able to relate to people, being able to respect other people's core values. And I said networking is going to be your biggest asset wherever it is that you go, because again, if you were kinder to that neighbor, you would have been able to get to a much better place that you want to be. So just wrapping things up, if somebody wanted to find you, what is the best place to find you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's at Voss K10, Because 10 is my favorite number. You can always find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, Vasily Korochenko, WASILIJKOROTCHENKO. Anybody can get in touch with me. You can fucking phone me. +49 for Germany, 17621184967. Right? You can phone me, you can WhatsApp me, you can get in touch with me. I'm cool with all of it. I help every single person I can get to. And there's loads of them, and at the moment I still have the capacity to help. And I don't want to blow my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it.
No, that's perfectly fine.
I'm pretty good at it. So people we have most people who come all get their job. Not all of them get exactly what I want, but they at least go and get it. And at least all of them get interviews, and through the interviews, most of them get their job. So anybody who needs any sort of help with anything, if it's how to build a business, if it's how to get a job, or if you want a job, you want to change your resume, anything, I'm happy to come.
And so, what exactly are you currently looking for with Hero Consulting, and because you said you're in the IT industry, what is really the people that you can help out and get them to where they want to be?
Okay, so if I want to help you as a company, you have to have some sort of IT skill.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. If you, at some point you have to be sitting in front of a computer or touching a computer or some sort of that. In any frame or form, I can help you get a job in Germany. Okay, that is in Berlin. Anybody out of anywhere in the world can come to Germany on a job seeker visa. Anybody gets it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know about that. I can also probably help you find a job in your own country.
Mm-hmm.
In your own country. So if you're saying you're in America right now and I'm in Chicago and I want to find a new job in Chicago, I can help you with that as well. It's a little bit difficult at times, but I'll make it work. It's not the end of the world. So my goal with Hero Consulting is to become the very first recruitment agency which is not hated.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I want to be the first recruitment agency which is not hated, where people actually go you know what, I actually really like these guys. This is a good company, and this is somewhere I'm willing to give my business to, or I'm willing to let them help me actually. That's where I want to get to.
Alrighty, Voss. Well, I know you're a busy man, and I thank you very much for taking the time to be able to collaborate on this. I know you're going to bring a ton of value. I myself learned the biggest takeaways, definitely to be kind. And of course, when you have that urge and that fear and that anxiety, you have to work to act on it. You have to act on it, because if it's not going to go away. And as I tell people, there's going to be no therapy. There's going to be no medication. There's going to be no any kind of supplement other than taking action. So that's really the main big key.
And there's no one last thing I want to say, there's no right action. Okay? You never know what is right. There's no right answer.
Yeah.
There's no right answer. You can go quit your job and start another job, and that other job will give you, which you've never imagined, will give you 10 other opportunities, or you might become CEO of that company with someone else. You don't know. Or you want to move the country. You move the country to Colombia, I don't know, and you meet your wife there. Right? Or you go move to Germany, you get hit by a bus. Nobody knows. There is no right answer to anything. And the most important thing is not to think about it, just act on it, and just put more action than planning.
And once you have that, you understand that any action you take, if you could calculate the risk and reduce the amount of adverse impact of screwing everything up, at least you're taking action. Yeah. So that is really the big key. So Voss, thank you very much again. And so I'll make sure to get everything posted, guys. For those of you who are listening, I will post the link down in the description to be able to get in touch with Voss. If you're looking for anything, make sure you hit him up. He has all his contact info there. Don't be reluctant to act out and get to where you want to be career-wise. Voss, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will speak to you, brother. Take care.